Well, the Flames are getting ready to head into the new year. They seem to be going out on a high note. Dylan and Chris from the Armchair GM Podcast are going to talk about it. Brought to you by the Hockey Podcast Network.
Well, Chris, how was your Christmas?
Christmas was fantastic. Got to
That's
spend a
good.
lot of time with family, ate a lot of food, drank a bunch of beer, a couple of glasses of wine, opened up a few presents with Flaming C on it. Got
Good. Yeah, your wife got you a pretty nice shirt. Hey, you have that close by?
I don't. It's actually hanging to dry. Got
Oh,
just
nice.
all sorts of other things to add to the cave.
Nice.
So yeah, it was a good time. Like I said, lots of family time. I hope everybody out in YouTube, Spotify, Apple World were able to experience the same. How about you? How was your weekend? Aside from the fact you were likely working for most of it.
Yeah, it was. Well, double time and a half is nothing to cough at. You know what I mean? It's not bad. It's part of the deal of my job is weekends and holidays. But other than walking around in a snowstorm all day long, both days, I
Right.
got to go for dinner with my girlfriend's parents. We went over to their place. That was nice. Opened some gifts, got to talk to all my family on the phone and stuff like that. So it was nice. It actually wasn't bad, and it wasn't too much
The
time off of the Flames being upset about where we were in the standings or anything like that. So that was nice.
That was nice. Yeah, I do remember seeing you make a post complaining about the lack of snow removal in the Revelstoke area.
Yeah.
Which is funny, being so you do most of your travel is via walking.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of comical that you're talking about snow removal on the roads. But
Yeah. Walking past several stuck vehicles in a 4-block, 5-block radius is
of
quite
course,
unacceptable to me. And like it fucking snows here, man. It snows here a lot. And
of course, you did the Canadian thing and helped all those poor
I
people stuck and
I did
helped them get on
I
their way.
stopped and asked everybody for sure. Nobody wanted help because they were already getting it.
Good.
Um
Good.
because there's a lot of people around with heavy trucks and all I have is my hands.
That's right.
But
So
yeah, like it snows here, right? It's unacceptable for them to, and like they were all on call. Like I was talking to some of the snow removal people, like everyone was on call and they just didn't get a call because the city's cheap. It's unacceptable just because it's anyways. Yeah.
So speaking of snow, how about snow and goalies? Since the last time we talked, the Flames have gone 3-1-1.
Yep.
It's been they had a pretty successful road trip. I would say a very successful road trip in California.
Yeah. Given competition isn't great down in California, but
well,
for the most part, but those are games you have to win. And the Flames, have been losing to teams like Montreal and Columbus and teams like that this year, the teams that you should be beating. So it's nice to be beating the teams that we should be beating in our division.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Being able to take 7 of 8 points out of California is
huge.
It's a big thing, right? Because we've had we've in the past we've had this thing with Anaheim, right? Can't win in their building, and
it's
even
been a couple years
struggle.
Though.
It's been a couple of years since that has gone away, which is great. But even struggled, like even in our own dome. against Anaheim. So to
Yep.
go in, yes, it went to overtime, but we gutted it out, got the win.
Mhm.
Losing to LA in overtime it wasn't great, but we got a point out of it.
Yeah.
A much needed point. And given where LA is and where we were in the standings at the time, I'm sure it irritated a lot of the Pacific Division, right?
Oh,
That
100%.
nobody wanted that to be a 3-point game.
Oh
But
yeah, no, like most of the overtime games are probably frustrating the Pacific Division because
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't looked at the standings lately, but um I'm just gonna look it up real quick. It's I know that the um I know that the but we're all pretty close, right? Like we have 41 points, Kraken have 40, Oilers have 40, Canucks are 35, which is, behind by a bit, but not really that far behind, right? Like everyone's really close. So
Mhm. The games in hand kind of freaked me out a little bit with with the teams that were around. So with it,
yeah, like the only two teams that have played more than us are Vegas and the Kings, who are both, 5 to 9 points ahead of us.
yeah, yeah. So that's the only thing that kind of freaks me out a little bit. But you know what? You have to control your own destiny. You go in, you win the games that you can, and that you should. That's all you can do, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's obviously you're going to do a lot of scoreboard watching, but there's
Mhm.
still lots of season left for the Flames to just ride it out, right? Win the games,
Oh,
win the games,
absolutely.
and and
I
given
don't
how
go ahead.
we have lots of lines that are really clicking right now, like not necessarily explosion in the offense, but they really look well together. The four lines that are kind of pegging over the last 3 games have been
I think
it's
it's been longer than that, but yeah, it's been
yeah,
1, 2, 3, 4 at least, I think.
yeah,
Because yeah, I think Lucic got put over there on the second line, the quote unquote second line, um, in San Jose. Like if you look here, Lucic scored from Huberto, right? That game.
yeah, you're right.
And Kadri scored from Huberto that game too. So
Yeah,
um let's go over that. That's seven. What was it? 7-3 win for
seven
us.
three. Yeah,
Yeah, that was huge. Um, Huberto with 3 assists, a couple of beauties. Lucic had a really nice play that game too.
he
Um,
did. I mean, his goal was nice, but I think his pass to Kadri was better.
yeah, the little like give and go off the boards.
Yeah,
That was a really nice little play, and I'm, I don't think that Luch on the second line and Dubé on the first line is a long-term sustainable thing.
no,
But I also think that part of good coaching is going with the hot hand while it's hot, right? When they
absolutely.
stop producing together, when they stop looking good together, fucking change it. But there's fans just
Oh,
furious over Lucic playing so high in the lineup right now, and it's like it's fucking working,
yeah,
and it's working damn good.
yeah. You can't fault Daryl for what's happening right now. Like since since this current lineup shakeup, we have results, we have wins.
Yeah,
So that's all that matters.
3-1
I
and one, like we're doing just fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like if we are anywhere close to this, yeah, going forward, if we're anywhere close to 3-1 and one for the rest of the year, then we're making the playoffs like
That's right. That's right.
solidly.
And for people to be angry about Luch playing on the line that he's playing on, I'm not gonna label line numbers.
Mhm.
And he's got 3 points in the last 5 games. Like, so what? He's playing well. He's not out of place on that line currently.
3 points in 5 games is kind of like a second liner, quote unquote second liner production, isn't it?
That's pretty much what you expect out of your second line. That's pretty much what you would expect out of um, guys that make $5.5 million.
Wow, he's actually producing like a okay. So that's the
I mean, right? If you want to compare
yeah.
numbers,
Yeah. So you can't really be upset about that. Lots of people are, but I think it's completely unjustified being upset about that.
yeah,
Now, if it wasn't working well, I would be upset about it, but
sure.
it is, so shut the fuck up.
Yep. It is. So shut the fuck up.
Um, but yeah, no, that game was great to see. Dubé up on the first line, killing it as well. I think he had a 2-point game, a goal and an assist that game, and he's been flying ever since. Um, that's fit well. I think just the speed and getting in fits really well with Toffoli and Lindholm, who neither of which are the fastest of guys. So the for the dump, which I'm not always a huge fan of, but when you are dumping, you need somebody who's quick on that line, who can get in on the forecheck and retrieve that puck.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's helping having a faster player like Dubé on that
Yeah,
line.
absolutely. I agree with you 100%. I mean, he's shown that he deserves credit and to be rewarded with more ice time. He's I like I said, I will take my foot out of my mouth when it comes to Dubé this year. So far,
So far, yeah.
he's played really well.
Yeah, I don't
I'm
think it's
really impressed.
sustainable. I think him as a top six forward is sustainable, but I don't think him
Yeah,
as a quote unquote top liner is sustainable.
that's right. I
But
agree.
if he proves me wrong, fucking rights.
I mean, if you look at his other winger on the line he was on before, um, another just shy of $6 million player that everybody seems to absolutely adore and love, who
Andrew
is
can't do any wrong, Mangiapane.
who has 1 point in the last 5 games, but everybody talks about how well he is playing and how good he is at playing hockey.
It's all they're
Right?
talking about on 960, and it
Yeah.
drives me fucking nuts. Like
It's
he's
almost
been
like
fucking horrible.
they're trying to compensate for something, or they're trying to will him into being a better hockey player.
Mm-hmm.
He's legitimately playing his exact average currently.
Mm-hmm. And he
Hmm?
honestly, Mangiapane, he's done last game. He had a few nice plays, and he played better than he usually does.
Mm-hmm.
But that's still nowhere close to $5.8 million worth of.
No,
Um,
no, sure
he's
isn't.
he's the only player on the team over the last few games who's been frustrating me though. So I can't,
Yeah,
if there's only one guy on the team that's frustrating, it
yeah,
you can't really
yeah.
complain about it too much.
No, it's not a bad thing, right? But there's absolutely a reason why when you got the two wingers that are playing with Kadri on quote unquote second line, one player goes up to the first, one player drops down to the third.
Mm-hmm.
It's undeniable.
Yeah,
Like,
and like people were saying Kadri was that DNA line was being driven by Kadri, but I think it was kind of a 50 fit. Like Mangiapane was a bit of a passenger on that line, I think.
yeah.
And I think it was a 50-50 Dubé and Kadri when that line was doing really well.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like you said, um, they got the guy who did well got moved up and rewarded, and the guy who was a passenger got moved down, and that's how things should work.
That's exactly how it should work, right? and that's just good coaching,
Yeah.
right? That's
So
all
that
that is. Right.
7-3 win was huge. And then
Yeah.
we got a day off and went into LA and had a back to back in LA again and Anaheim. LA, we really needed that one as far as the standings were concerned, but we ended up dropping it in OT in honestly somewhat of a decent fashion, though, because we may have lost in overtime, but I thought that losing after, we let in 2 goals at the very
It
beginning of the first or of the third
yeah,
period, like right
like
quick
in 10 seconds, right?
in 10 seconds at the very beginning of the third period. And that's honestly, this team has given up, not given up, but that they have shown frustration and stopped playing their game and all that type of stuff quite often when things like that happen.
Yeah.
And they didn't, and they came back and tied that one, showed some resilience, and yeah, brought it to overtime at the very least. Where did they take a penalty in overtime that game? I can't remember.
Um, I don't think they did because the goal wasn't.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
goal wasn't the power play goal.
yeah, goal wasn't power play, and it was 3. It's like just like 3 minutes in. So I'm gonna say no. I don't believe they did on that one.
And again, you've got the guys on the score sheet who you want on the score sheet in that game. You've got, Lucic and Huberto combined for a goal there. Toffoli, Anderson's just been killing it. You got Dubé and Lindholm on the score sheet that game. So you've got, your first liners and your second liners all on the score sheet. You're not relying on guys like Lewis or Coleman or Backlund who, no, it's great when they score, but you shouldn't be relying on them to score to win games. When they
Yeah.
score should be a bonus.
Well, exactly. Yeah,
And we were kind of relying, especially on Backlund earlier in the year, and now we're kind of getting that offense from the top of the lineup.
Well, that's right. To start the year, we're getting some great production from Backlund and Richie, for crying out loud.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But like you said, we're getting production out of Huberto now. He's really starting to find his stride.
He's got like 15 points in his last 16 games.
I mean, he has 1, 2, 3. He has 6 points in the last 5.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and it's funny. I had a conversation last night with somebody that was complaining about the fact he's not scoring goals.
What do you fucking expect?
Like the man is an elite setup player, right? He set a record for assists
last year. Like a league record, most assists by a left winger in league history. Think about left wingers that have played. Fucking Yari Curry played left wing for Gretzky. Like,
yeah. I mean, I'm not worried about Huberto scoring goals. Would I like him to score more? Yes. Would I like him to shoot more? Yes. He would like him to shoot more.
We're talking about the game right now where he made 2 passes in overtime when he was alone in front of the net. Yeah. And yes, that's frustrating to watch.
It's
absolutely frustrating to watch. And he was the first one to say, I should have shot that. But when you see that from a guy like that, sure, it's frustrating, but it's what he's going to do. Like, got him because he's a great passer.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, the frustrating thing there is he actually scored in that game as well. He was our first goal. But like, I'm not worried about Huberto and goals. No. He's a playmaker. He's an elite playmaker. Let him do his thing. If Huberto is getting assists, that means the Flames are scoring.
Absolutely.
right? Because you don't get an assist without it. So, yeah,
Yeah.
no, I'm
And
I'm not worried about Jonathan whatsoever.
me neither. And like there's been lots of talk about how he's underperformed, which he kind of did to start the year, but for
Sure.
me that was to be expected.
Yeah.
Um, you know, coming from a hockey dead market where it's plus 40 out half the time to being traded without thinking that you were going to be traded, um to a
And
freezing cold, windy,
I mean,
snowy, quite
envi-
honestly miserable place.
environment outside of the arena be damned. I mean those are all factors for sure,
Yeah.
but you couldn't have two different systems like what he's gone through in the last
Well, yeah,
calendar
the
year.
the the
Like,
Andrew Burnett system was
it,
run and gun and run and gun more and run and
yeah,
gun some more,
yeah.
and this Daryl Sutter
And
system
if that
is
doesn't work, just run and gun.
yeah.
Yeah, to come into Daryl Sutter defense first mentality system, of course he's going to struggle. Who
And
wouldn't?
he's been really good defensively
He's been great defensively. Absolutely.
over the last month. I think he's been just a great overall player for the last month and
Ever since he
month and
got
a
back
week or
from
so.
injury,
Yeah.
right? Like he was having some struggles going, and then when he had that bit that was it 3 games I think he missed. They were on injury when he
I think 2 or 3,
yeah,
yeah.
2 or 3, and then when he came back, he played. He was put on the line with Backlund, and I tell you what, like he's really fitting in well with a 200-foot style, right? So you play with Backlund, who's brilliant at it, one of the best in the league, and then you play, and then you go back on the line with Lindholm and just even retool that a little bit more because we all know Lindholm is exactly that player as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's he's getting there, right? Like he's doing what he should be doing. He's getting points. He's defending well. I mean, it's still fun to watch him
Yeah.
find players that I have a hard time even seeing on the TV when I'm watching it.
Oh
Right?
yeah.
Like,
And like the thing is I think the guys are getting more used to him too. I think that was I know we talk about this like every episode, but to me, one of the reasons why he was having a hard time getting on the scoreboard, getting assists to start the year was because the guy like Uyghur was the only one who understood on the whole team
yeah,
the seams that Huberdeau finds.
yeah,
And Lindholm, like and Toffoli, especially, I found both of them had a really hard time picking up those passes because, like, even being used to Gaudreau, like he could find a good seam, but he didn't
yeah. But
pass it quite as hard, and he didn't,
no, his passes were
and he was
finesse.
looking at you when he was passing it to you. Huberdeau's not, and it's going to their tape. It was going to their tape, and now,
Yeah,
and instead of bouncing off of their tape, they're corralling it better now. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
and I think
Yeah,
that Lucic, I think, actually helps with that because he's got more weight behind him. He can take a pass a little bit better, you know?
the puck's not knocking his stick back 4 inches,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. No, I agree. I mean, Toffoli. Well, both Toffoli and Lindholm had issues receiving the pass for the first couple of weeks for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like even both of those guys are
Well, they're finding him better now. Yeah,
yeah, they're
for
they're
sure.
they're understanding that it's coming, so you better be paying attention. I think
Stick
is
on
the
the ice,
biggest thing.
right?
Stick on the ice.
As
It's
Red Green always says.
Pee wee hockey. Stick
Mm-hmm.
on the ice, right?
So yeah, we
So
dropped that one in overtime, but still got a point out of it.
yeah,
And then headed over to Anaheim, where we
that's,
played. Um,
did we play
the very
Anaheim?
next night. Yeah, well, the very next night.
Yeah.
That huge stone bomb, because we've been talking the last couple weeks. Stone hasn't been playing very well, honestly.
No, he's
Um,
struggled. He's
he's
definitely
he's
struggled.
struggled quite a bit, and he hasn't been ripping those shots that, his signature 95 to 101 shot, you
Yep.
know, and but then he did ripped it, and like you
And
could tell that Dostal kid, their Anaheim's goalie of the future, there just had no fucking idea.
yeah,
Like, he had no idea that that puck was coming that fast. He couldn't see it. And that's what you need out of Stone. Um,
yeah,
and I think ever since then, he's actually been playing better, and I think that goal helped. Um, he's been more confident defensively as well. Uh, there hasn't, I don't think, since this game, they've shortened their bench defensively,
yeah,
because for the last couple weeks, it's been happening quite often where Stone specifically has been sat, and they've just kind of rotated Zadorov onto other pairs because Stone was struggling. But
yeah,
ever since this Anaheim game, I think he's kind of back to what you want out of your number 60.
yeah. He's been playing much better. He's been more aware of what's going on around him. Like I don't know if the injury sent him back a little bit, which I'm assuming it did.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean when it came to the Anaheim game, my take on that one a little bit, our top two lines disappeared, right? There were
And that was
nowhere
another one of
no
those
they were nowhere
Richie
to be seen. Yeah.
Richie and Stone, right?
Yeah, well, I mean when like all of our production for goals, we had Stone and then Richie in
In Anaheim.
in regulation, and then and then Rasmus Anderson puts it home in OT.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously he's with Toffoli and Huberto on that first line for OT, but that whole game though, like our top two lines were, I mean, I'm going to use the word invisible. They really didn't click. They didn't look good at all. But our bottom two lines came to play,
Mm-hmm.
thankfully, and they just gutted out a win. The last game of four on the road in a building that in the years past you've had issues winning. They just
Yeah.
they gutted out a win, and you can't really ask for anything more on game four of a 4 game road trip.
Absolutely. And on back to backs as well.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
it doesn't take long to get from LA to Anaheim, but still, it's still a back to back
Still
with
back to
travel.
back, and the game you had before, the first night was OT as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
Tiring.
it's just extra time, extra minutes for everybody.
And I want to point something out. That Anaheim goal, the power play goal from Mason McTavish.
Yeah,
Do you remember that one?
yeah,
The one timer?
yeah.
You probably know what I'm about to say.
I do.
We fucking need something like that. We don't have guys who rip one timers on the power play. We need that. We've needed that for fucking years. Um, and just watching that game and watching that shot just put that, like, people are like, oh, not every team can have an Ovechkin, but like Anaheim has a fucking Mason McTavish, right?
That's
Like,
right.
we need somebody who can rip a one
I
timer from the circle.
I hear there's a young kid by the last name Thompson that does that fairly well.
That'd be fucking great. Well, he also scores in every way imaginable.
He
So,
does, but his one time is unreal,
oh, it absolutely is.
like unreal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Now,
like
I think from I've never really watched a game of uh why am I blanking on his name right now? The our prospect that's in college right now, that
Coronado.
Coronado, yeah. he rips one-timers. I've never really watched the game, but I've seen some highlights of some one-time rippers. But he's a couple years away, right? So, in
Well,
my opinion,
maybe he should be up instead of Phillips.
that doesn't work.
I know.
I know. Well, Phillips isn't up anymore.
What you mean? You mean he has to actually have a pro contract to be up here?
Yeah, he has to have a pro contract to play pro hockey. Yeah, yeah, that's how that works.
I mean, I figure at college he's more NHL ready than Phillips is, but that's another subject, and I don't think we should spend any time on it. We'll have a lot of haters.
Well, whatever. That Rasmus Anderson goal though, that was the overtime goal. I cannot praise Rasmus Anderson more than I do. I don't think. I think he had some struggles 5-on-5 to start the season, but I think he's been a lot. Like even Hannafin too has been really good, but Rasmus has been like elite.
Yeah,
for the majority of this year, I think, on in all strengths.
He's been really, really strong. Somebody brought it up last night in a thread that I was communicating in, and they just simply said, "Why is Rasmus never in the talks for getting the C?"
I've thought about that in the past too.
And my first thought was, I don't know. Why isn't he? I mean, he exudes all the things you want from a leader, right? You know, he's vocal with the players. He's vocal with his goaltender. He's vocal with the refs. He's vocal with the coach. He's vocal with the media. He leads by example on the ice.
He steps up for his teammates when his teammate, like he's like one of the only guys on the team who actually reacts to a hit.
Yeah, absolutely. He stands up for his players. He even stands up for his players, in front of the media. And it actually kind of it made me feel bad that I never even thought of having him in the conversation to be the captain. Now, I'm not saying necessarily that he should be, but he absolutely deserves to be in the conversation.
Oh no, I think he should have an A, like
yeah,
at the very least when all is said and done.
Yeah.
And like he's 24 minutes, 27 minutes, 30 minutes. Like you want your captain to play a lot, right? Like
well, that's right. You want your captain on the ice, right?
You probably want your captain to shoot on the power play a little more, but that's about the only thing that frustrates me about Rasmus Anderson's game this year. He's been fucking fantastic.
Yeah, he has been. He's been really good this year. You said it before last season. He's the guy to watch out for as far as progression.
Yeah, because he had that off year, and I think it was during that season we were talking. I don't think it was on this podcast. I think it was on our old podcast on the Flame Puck there.
Shout out Ian.
Shout out to Ian.
Yeah.
Have to have him on one of these days.
Sure.
But yeah, because he was steadily improving every year, and he looked really good the year before that, and then he kind of just had a bad year, as did the entire rest of the team.
Yeah, right? the team looked bad. He regressed. I mean, that was Bill Ward time, right?
Jeff Ward, yeah.
Jeff Ward, yeah. Bill Peters. Bill Peters / Jeff Ward, Bill Ward.
And the beginning of the Daryl Sutter, like that year was the beginning of Sutter.
Right.
He got hired like at the end of that year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the next year, Rasmus played really well, which was last year. Played really well. I said it the whole time, right? I wasn't ever worried about his contract because, first of all, his contract is a second pair defenseman's contract.
Yeah, I was going to say his contract's fine. That I'm not worried about at all.
Yeah. And now he's playing like a number one, like I'm not sure if you'd call him a Norris candidate. In fact, I wouldn't.
No,
But he's a number one on probably 20 teams and
I
a
would
number
say
two on all the other teams.
he's a number one pairing in almost every team in the NHL. I
No,
would think.
number one pairing in
Yeah,
almost every team. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Like
I mean,
you,
he already has more goals. He's tied his uh his his most goal production ever with 5 goals already.
yeah.
You know, he has
And
20,
like and a
26
couple of
points.
shootout goals.
That's right. He's got 26 points. He's more than halfway towards being over his point total. So I mean, he's showing everything. And you know
Mhm.
how I'm not a person that likes or necessarily cares about defensive production as far as points.
But it's
But
great when it comes without having too much defensive
exactly, like
problem.
he finds a way to get back. So he's not a defensive liability in any way.
I kind of want to credit the rest of the team for that too,
Yeah.
because I do find this year both him and Hannafin have jumped into the play a lot. But every time, like I'm sure you watch like this. I certainly do. I don't know how many people out there watch like this, but when you notice number 4, number 55 going up into the play, you notice the Dubé, or you notice
Yeah. They
you
come back
notice
around, right?
even to Foley, they'll kind of back up into where Rasmus should have been,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
in the structure,
Backlund's been doing it for forever.
years.
Um,
Coleman
but
does it all the time too. Yeah,
that's
like
right.
yeah.
Yeah, there's certain players that have that wherewithal that understand what needs to happen when an Anderson or Hannafin or Zadorov are behind their net, right? Like we need
Yeah.
to have 2 people on that line to keep the puck in and reduce the amount of odd man rushes coming back.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you're right. I mean, it's been refreshing to see so many plays have developed from our end with our defensemen going into their zone with the puck,
Mm-hmm.
leading the charge. It's something different from what they're used to or what they've been doing over the past few years. They've tried it a little bit, but this year it's been really noticeable because when it happens, it's been effective.
I think part of it is also, um, you know, for the last 11 years or whatever, we've had that elite puck carrying forward who whenever the puck wasn't being dumped in, could actually carry it in and get in, the
Well, that's
majority of
right.
the time.
Yeah, I
And
suppose
that,
with it.
now we don't, so we need somebody else to do it, right? Like Huberdeau's not the best at carrying it into the zone. He's
No.
not bad at it, but we don't have many of those guys. So the defensemen are doing it now, and that's fine. I think that's something Zadorov is fantastic at,
He's
and
been
he's
really
big, so
good
he
at it.
can get he. But yeah,
Yeah, he's been really good at it. I'll give him a lot of credit.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're right. Like years past, it was the defenseman's job to start skating up and drop the puck
Mm-hmm.
off to number 13, right? But it's now they're just driving with momentum and yeah, and I'm really enjoying it.
Me
I'm
too.
I'm 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 willing to admit watching the defensive play offense this year has actually been fun and exciting.
It has been, and the thing is that's something that's always bothered me a little bit about Noah, especially, is he has offensive instincts, but he's not he until this year. I think he's barely, except for that one year he played with Tanev, he's barely ever used it.
Right.
At least very effectively, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
I actually heard a really good, can't remember, was it Wes Gilbertson maybe, did a interview with, or no, it was Pat Steinberg did a interview with Hannafin, where they spent like half the time talking about Hannafin and half the time talking about Anderson. And Noah said like they're both just really, really confident now, and it shows. Like,
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, it shows they're a good pairing. They're a really good pairing. Yeah. No,
Absolutely.
it's been fun. So
Yeah.
before we get on to the next game in our recap, we want to take a break and have a little DraftKings action.
Let's do it.
All right, I like it. Be right back, everybody. Hockey fans, light the lamp this winter with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. New customers can bet just $5 pregame moneyline on any NHL team to win their game. Get $150 in free bets if they do. If that wasn't enough excitement, you can turn small bets into bigger payouts with same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more for your shot at an even bigger payout. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet $5 on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN. Minimum age, some restrictions apply. See the show notes for details.
The next game we played was against our old friends, the Edmonton McElbows.
The McCollarbones.
And everybody, we should talk about this for a quick sec, because everybody is all upset about the schedule this year, right? About how the Flames and the Oilers only play 3 times, which is how it works every few years, right? That's how the schedule is made. Personal, like, and I understand it. I'm all for rivalries and all that type of stuff, but we played them 9 times last year, and like, I've had fucking enough. And it's not just like, it's not just that McDavid fucking is good. Like, whatever. I like watching good hockey, generally speaking. It's that I've seen enough fucking Oilers. Personally.
I love playing those rivalry games. Like I've been watching the Battle of Alberta for 42 years.
Yeah.
And I do love it. It always has extra, right? That being said, it doesn't have extra anymore as far as physical. Like,
it did with the whole Cashian and Kachuk thing, but neither play for the teams anymore. And like, Backlund used to be, I mean, he's still good defensively against McDavid and that type of stuff, but he used to be physical against McDavid. And I don't know how we have, Kadri, Coleman, Backlund, Lucic, and like, there's no physicality in these games. Like, it's somewhat boring to watch. And like, I was saying, I made a big post about it. I don't enjoy watching games against Edmonton anymore.
No, because I mean, it's
stressful.
The broadcast is all about the Oilers, right?
Yeah, you want to mute it.
Yeah, you want to mute it, and you're like, there's just no heated passion anymore. There's no scrums after plays. There's no checks. There's no getting into
goalie fights. That was the last really truly entertaining Battle of Alberta, was the goalie fight.
I mean, that was a hell of a night.
It was.
It was a great night. But yeah, like, that's
and we lost that game, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Like, it's not like I'm upset because we're losing. I'm upset. I'm not even upset. I'm just tired of watching the same team for the 15th time in the last fucking 7 months.
Yeah. Well, exactly. I mean, we saw a lot of them, in the Canada division season.
And
then last year, was it 9 games? I thought it was 8. Could have been 9 though.
Well, it was
either way. It was too many.
The 4 and then the 5.
Is that what it was?
It was 4 in the regular season and then 5 in the playoffs.
Yeah, right. Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, like I'm over it. I
Yeah.
still want the rivalry to be there, but
Yeah. And
I
it will
want
be.
I want the rivalry to be there with intensity
Hmm.
and
And
for with a purpose.
and again, I would love to see another playoff round. You know, I think that would be good. But
Yeah,
um I think part of the charm of the regular season is seeing different players come in and going and our team going and playing against different players, and it's just like at some point it seems like every other game is against the same fucking team.
yeah,
Right?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Like
We're
even that San Jose thing where it was like one game in San Jose and then the day
yeah.
off
I
and
didn't
another
like
game
that.
in San Jose.
I didn't like
It's
that at
like,
all.
yeah, like we won both of them, but like
Yeah,
what's going on here? It makes sense
yeah,
for the guys though. It kind of does because it's less travel, more rest type of thing, right? So
sure.
I kind of get it, but anyways, so this game, I actually think the Flames played really well. Um, I know that you and I are going to get into the exact reason why we lost that game.
Hmm.
Um, but I think overall, as a team, the Flames played quite well and kept the Oilers from getting really good scoring opportunities for the majority of the game, and had a couple of really good penalty kills against a power play that's rocking the 30 some odd percent, like
Yeah,
absurd right now.
yeah, exactly. Like I mean, they're 30% odd, which is exactly what we kept him to 1 for 3.
Mm-hmm.
So that all makes sense. I mean, we had 47 shots with
Skinner's
25.
got our number.
I don't think he's got our number. Don't say
It's
that.
a lot of crest shots, but I think
Yeah,
that
like
that game we had a
they're
lot more high quality than we usually do.
we like a third of our shots maybe were quality shots. There, that was all volume. Skinner doesn't have shit.
You don't think
Skinner's
so?
no, no. I don't give Skinner any fucking credit for that game.
Okay. I mean,
We we
I
we
probably don't
played
give him as much credit as most people do, but I still give him a bit of credit because I do think that we had more high quality than we usually do.
yeah.
But
The reason like we played really well in our end and in the neutral zone, and we played very good at perimeter hockey in the Oilers zone,
no,
right?
especially on the power play, like it's just so
Yeah,
fucking annoying.
and that's
And like,
and that's why I don't give him the credit that you are giving him. Is because majority of our shots were from the blue line, along the wall, nobody in front, right? There's no intensity in front of him. He saw 90% of the shots coming out,
yeah,
and that's what I'm saying. Like if we can have actually 47 shots on goal, as well as Edmonton had 25 blocks, right? Like
that's a lot of shot attempts,
that's a
and um, even more considering people are all about how many fucking posts we got, like posts have anything to do with goals. It kind of bothers me. Like everyone's all
just
excited about how many posts we got, like they should have gone in. It's like, no, that's just a fucking missed shot. Like
yeah. When you hit the post, you've missed the net,
that's all it is, unless it bounces off the
right?
post
The
and goes in.
the net is
It's
on the inside. It's on the
yeah.
inside. So if you hit the post, you've missed it. It's a
Mhm,
missed shot.
mhm.
It's not
You can
even
beat the goalie all
registered.
you want,
It's
but
not
it's
even
really
registered
no
as a
different.
shot on goal.
Yeah, it's really no different than going, you know, the past 3 years of Dubé patented, you know, 6 inches high and 3 feet wide. It's no
Yeah,
different than hitting the post and going out.
that's right.
What's that?
It's like, oh, I was close. I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
Close means nothing.
uh, uh,
Close means
those are
nothing.
those expected goals that everyone talks about nowadays that drives me fucking batty. It's like I don't care how many is expected. Did it go in?
Yeah, how many
No.
did they have?
So who cares?
Yeah, how many did he have?
Mhm.
Give me those stats.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, so we played well, played pretty good defensively, kept the Oilers off the board for, as like the Oilers big boys off the board for the majority of the game.
Mhm.
And Mangiapane takes just bad penalties, and we have taken too many men penalty, and luckily only one of these penalties cost us big time. And that was
That was
the
the worst
holding penalty.
That was the worst penalty of them all.
Oh, absolutely. Well,
Like in
I
the
think this too
Oilers
many men thing
corner.
needs to stop.
I do too.
But that was like the most blatantly obvious hold, and he was like lifted his hands up like he did nothing. It's like, no, like that. Like if you read, you could take what Mangiapane did, take a picture of it, and put it in the rule book right next to the description of holding.
That's exactly
That's
how
it is.
That's how Sutter explained it.
If you was it? I didn't catch Sutter that game.
He said if you look up the definition in the rule book,
oh,
that's what it is.
Yeah.
Right.
So there you go.
But I mean, the holding penalty aside, where he did it is just like, what a fucking boneheaded play.
Yeah.
Like he's basically in the Oilers' corner, 200 feet from his own net, taking a holding penalty. Fuck.
Yeah.
Get your shit together, Andrew. Like, that was brutal.
Don't get. I've heard lots of people, obviously, like they always do, bitching about the refs, and I do think the refs were not great that game. I do think that all of the penalties they called on us were 100% penalties.
Absolutely. Both Andrews were, and it was too many men.
Yeah. Without beyond a shadow of a doubt, those were penalties.
That's right.
I thought they could have called how the Oilers can get away with murder several times that game. There was a hold. There was Zadorov got clipped in the face. Lewis got clipped in the face. And then there was another
the holding and stuff like that where it's opinion related. You know, the hooking and the holding. It's not, to me, it's not nearly as bad as the stick infractions where you hit somebody in the face or you trip them. Like, those are obvious, especially with the Zadorov getting hit in the face. And what was the ref, like 8 feet away from him, looking at him in the face?
Oh, there was a couple times where, like, sometimes you see a penalty happen and you look around, like as a fan, you're watching TV, you look around, you try to look at where the ref is, and you see, oh, maybe, the ref's looking at something that's going on over there or whatever. But no, there was twice where I was like, where's the penalty? And the ref is like right next to the play, looking right at what happened, staring at it. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, it's getting really hard because I try to be a person who doesn't blame refs for shit, because I truly think that good teams beat. I know I say this all the time, but good teams beat other teams and the refs. Because refs are bad for all teams, but it gets really hard to not blame refs when they are so clearly one-sided sometimes.
Well, when it's so clearly one-sided, as well as, I understand what you say, good teams find a way to beat the other team in the refs. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem is there's only...
You shouldn't have to.
Yeah, absolutely. There's only like 1 or 2 teams in the entire league that are good enough to beat the refs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when it's one-sided like that, I'm sorry. Like, you're talking about 2 similar caliber teams, because they're all NHL teams. Anybody can win a game any night.
Yeah.
Obviously there's odds and blah, blah, blah. I get that. But when you have 2 NHL caliber teams and one team is being favored by the refs,
yep,
that's like to give that much of a disadvantage to another team is gross. You know, and I'm not saying they were
Blatantly.
doing it on purpose, but it sure looks like it in a lot of
100%.
these games, right? You know, there's, I believe it was near the end of the Oiler game when I threw in our Flames Hub chat there. There was the hold, and then there was a point in time when the Oilers had 7 fucking players on the ice, and they had the puck.
Mm-hmm.
And we get a too many men penalty, which it was. I'm not complaining the fact we got the penalty because we did it.
Yeah,
but you
again,
can't,
our penalties were penalties, but the Oilers
we had 6 we had 6 guys on the ice and got a penalty. They had 7. I went back and watched it. I was just like, what the, like, how is this even a thing?
Yeah.
Especially if you're going to call one team for it.
Yeah.
You have to call both sides.
And like I get missing calls or whatever. If or like purposely not calling stuff sometimes. I get that. But if you're not going to call things on one team, don't call them on the other team. If you're not, if you are going to call things on like the holds and the high sticks and stuff, keep it consistent at least throughout that fucking game.
That's right. Absolutely. If it changes from game to game, so be it.
Yeah.
But it has to be consistent for both teams during the game.
Sometimes it seems like,
4 people,
like there's different refs, like period by period or play by play. They've just switched the ref out. Like
that's right. The ice surface is not big enough for 2 people in stripes with bands and 2 people with stripes without bands to not see what's going on.
100%. I get it's a fast game, but
sure,
these guys are paid pretty fucking well to do it.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I'm not talking about the poor 15-year-old that's reffing rec hockey at Jack Setter's here in Calgary. Like that's
yeah.
These are professionals,
the highest level.
Yeah.
That's what's sad.
If players
is like
if players are held accountable, the refs need to be held accountable. Held accountable.
And
by
the
league.
refs, like the refs at the Revelstoke Rec Center are better. Like, you know what I mean? Like half the time, it's just, it's absurd.
Yeah, that's I suppose that's one of my biggest complaints when it comes to, the reffing association when it comes to the NHL is there's no accountability whatsoever.
They say there is, but the only time there's ever really been accountability is when the guy was caught on mic saying, "Oh, we got to give these guys a penalty now."
Yeah,
that was the only
when exactly. But what did he get?
Didn't he? He was kind of like forced into retirement, wasn't he? But paid.
He paid retirement, and it was his last year.
Yeah,
like he was already retiring.
Yeah, so basically, he just got early retirement and still got his pay.
Yeah, it's like his company came to him when he was 64 years and 10 months old and said, "You know what? It's time you retired now. Here's your pay until then."
It's bullshit.
That's not accountability.
Players. Then again, neither is McDavid getting $5,000 for elbowing somebody in the face. That's not accountability either.
No, but you know what? They trotted out in front of the public, and they let it be known.
That's true.
Like I mean, yes, the fines are stupid. They're meaningless, but at least it's a starting point for repeats, right? So I mean, you can't get to 2-game suspension unless you've had a history, right? So your history has to start with your fines, and then you progress from there. But there's nothing on the ref side, nothing. I don't know. It's really frustrating when it.
Anyway,
when
so
blatant.
Yeah,
that was a nice 15-minute segment on refereeing, which I wasn't geared up to talk about.
Well, but I mean, after that Oilers game, we couldn't not talk about how fucking shitty they are.
Yeah.
Anyway, so McDavid scores on that third. that third power play, and it was really the only time the whole game I thought he looked dangerous. It was like the only play in the whole
Yeah.
game. Like, I would understand if somebody said would think that McDavid wasn't playing that game for 2 periods.
Yeah, he was pretty much invisible,
Yeah,
which is great, right?
because it
When
means our defense is doing their jobs.
that's right. Yeah, there's even a couple of times that he coughed up the puck
Mhm.
and in bad situations, right? So yeah, no, I mean it wasn't his best game, and thankfully, we kind of kept him at bay.
Yeah,
I mean to keep McDavid and Draisaitl to one goal, like combined for one goal,
yeah,
midway through the third. Yeah, I think the defense and everybody did their job.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I was talking to my buddy who's one of my good friends who's a Edmonton fan, and he was saying, like right after the game, he said Edmonton had absolutely no business winning that game, and he even said like the refs were bad,
Yeah.
and Calgary outplayed the shit out of Edmonton, and they had no business being anywhere close in that game. And I agree. So honestly, I try not to especially this far into the season, like lessons and moral victories and stuff like that, whatever. Um I don't really buy into that shit, but it wasn't the worst game. It was decided by a lack of good refereeing and quite frankly, Mangiapane just being shit. Um,
That's right. Shit
and
on the
then
ice and making boneheaded decisions.
and the very next night, last night, we played another back to back in this segment against Seattle, who was at the time 1 point ahead of us in the standings, although they have several games in hand. I think 4 games in hand or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But still, big divisional matchup. Seattle's playing quite well this year.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, they're vastly better than they were last year.
they're
Much better.
getting like they had like record shitty goaltending last year, and they're getting below league average, but it's like significantly better than last year. This year, and I think that's a big reason why. Plus, Beniers and guys like that are stepping up and being key contributors to them.
Yeah.
I actually don't mind that team, honestly. Like they're fun to watch. It wasn't like Vegas was, where it's like like how is it even fair that you're this good at coming out of a expansion, right? This is
Which
more of what you would expect an expansion team to be, which is
yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean,
exciting but not great.
what, I think Vegas probably ruined expansion teams for me, to be honest. I still can't figure out how Vegas ended up being as good as they were. It made no sense to me. Like the ownership and management are I'm not going to go fully into what kind of human beings they are. Um, the the
They don't
team
treat people the best. Let's just say that.
yeah, I'll go with that. The
Mhm.
team as it was drafted was garbage, like on paper.
Oh yeah, but I do think they drafted well, because they did draft lots of those guys who hadn't gotten an opportunity because they were playing behind whoever in their markets, right? Like the William
Mm,
Karlssons and the Jonathan Marchessaults of the world, who were playing
right.
behind. Marchessault was playing behind Huberdeau, wasn't
Yeah. Yeah.
he? Both his left wingers, and I can't remember who Karlsson was playing under, but like
Mm.
Karlsson was a third liner, and then he came out and had a 38, I think, goal season. Anyways, we were not really talking about them right now, but
No. So for that reason, I kind of lost interest in Seattle very quickly.
mhm,
Like very quickly.
mhm,
I probably, aside from the games we played against them last year, I probably watched maybe 5 minutes of their
mhm.
season last year. I really got to a point where I could care less about the Kraken. And then playing them last night, it was, you get to get I finally get to see some of their players play, and aside from watching stats and things like that, and following fantasy hockey, I really didn't have much information as far as their players, but watching them on the ice, they're a pretty good rounded team.
Mhm.
Like they're quick.
Surprisingly quick,
Yeah. Yeah, surprisingly quick.
especially when the quick guys are like somehow Brandon Tanev and Jamie Alexiak.
Right. Yeah. I really was hoping for Brandon and Chris Tussle of some kind.
I doubt they would have gone with each other, but I was expecting there to be, because Brandon was hurt most of last year. I don't think we played against him, but it would have been fun to see them get into it a little bit.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah,
Or at least
even if it's
there
just
was
a shove or something, right? Just something to show that they're brothers.
I saw Chris rub Brandon off of a puck at one point and kind of look back and smile at him, but
Right.
that was the most we got of that. But yeah, so we got some goals. Thank God.
Right. One in each period, even.
Oh yeah, that we did. I want to concentrate on one of the two of the goals. So Toffoli scored a very Toffoli goal, which is perfectly fine.
Yep.
I think we all are happy with how he's been doing.
Yep.
And then Ryan Donato scores one, and Jamie Alexiak. Actually, I thought that was that Jamie Alexiak goal in the second period was actually a really smart choice by him to go in, and because Vladar was completely blind, like there was lots of people
Oh yeah,
in
right.
front of him, and Alexiak had the space, right, and so he skated in, and like big hulking defenseman right in front of the net with guys in front of him just sniped it. It was a nice shot, to be honest.
It was. Then you got Eberle with he assisted both goals from Seattle last night.
Mm-hmm. Eberle's always been tough on us. Do you remember Eberle's first NHL goal? It always sticks in my head.
I know we talked about it
Probably a couple of years ago.
Maybe a year ago, maybe less than a year ago. It's blanking me again.
It was just a rush goal where Giordano had fallen to the ice to make a block, and he just made a sweet fucking toe drag right around Gio and scored. I can't remember who was in that, but it always sticks out in my head. Eberle's first goal.
I was really angry that Edmonton drafted him after watching him in the World Junior in his final year there.
His record got broken today, hey?
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Well, sorry, I think was it
Bedard?
tied? Yeah, Bedard with I think it's 14 goals or whatever, 11 goals. I can't remember how many goals it was, but I remember seeing a TSN post or whatever saying that Bedard had tied Eberle's World Junior record this year, and there's still several games left to go.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's I'll always remember the dying seconds of the game where he scores the tying and the winning goals.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted him badly at the time. And then the Oilers drafted him, and I was pretty pissy about that. And then he went to, where do you go? The Islanders, right? And I'm just like, dude, I up until maybe 2 years ago, I honestly wanted the Flames to make a play for Jordan Eberle.
Mm.
But
Would have been great. I mean, he's still a good player.
He is. He's got 27 points in 33 games, right?
Mm.
Like, I mean, how old is he now? Born in 90, so
If I had to guess, I'd say 31, 32.
Yeah. 32.
No. So I wanted to concentrate on this Kadri goal.
Okay.
And we were talking about it last night. It bothers me. Our power play bothers me because Kadri is always on the half board, and they'll put like Lindholm out front or somebody else out front that shouldn't be there. Yeah. Kadri should be the guy out front. They should have Lindholm and Toffoli in the making a pass or taking a shot area, not the screening the goalie area. Yeah. And almost every time Kadri gets in front of the net on the power play, like he did here, he was only there for fucking a tenth of a second and he scored.
Yeah, I was going to say it was a flyby on his part. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But he still got there. Yeah. And there's been several times this year where he's stood there and either somebody else scored because the goalie couldn't see the puck or he scored.
Yeah.
And he's good at that. That's something he's really good at. He shouldn't be on the half board. He should be that net front guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
In my opinion.
To have Lindholm in front of the net digging and being that guy and Kadri in the corner trying to retrieve a puck is asinine to me because Lindholm is vastly superior in that role.
In a shooter role and in a playmaker role.
Well, that's right. In the shooter role, in the playmaker role, and retrieving pucks.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you want a guy to be digging out of our number one power play unit, I want Lindholm. I want Huberdeau. I don't want Kadri.
Yeah.
Kadri, you go stand over here and you wait for us to shoot the puck, and then you get to work. Right. Mm-hmm. That's where he will shine all the time.
And like rebounds, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, Lindholm has a better actual shot than Kadri, so he should be the one shooting. He's better at setting up a play than Kadri, so he should be off to the side with a vision, looking and waiting for a pass or creating a pass.
Or a flyby.
Yeah. There's so many reasons for, because we discussed it quite a bit last night, and then as we're discussing it,
he
scores a goal from in front of the net.
Yeah, like we were literally talking about it on in our group chat, and our buddy Steve, shout out Steve if he's listening, he was agreeing with us, which rarely happens. We get into it quite often, and he was agreeing with us. He's like, yeah, Kadri should be in front, and then like a couple minutes later, Kadri scores because he got in front of the net on the power play. And I want to say, like, I'm not pissed off at Kadri about it. It's not Kadri's problem. It's the system. It's how the power play is set up in a manner that doesn't complement Kadri and Lindholm's best qualities, in my opinion. Go ahead.
Thank you. Question up front here.
Mm-hmm.
When you say that it's just the system, I'd be willing to throw down a good chunk of what's in my savings account at the moment to say that the system does not involve having absolutely nobody in front of the net.
That's true. Or moving.
And we all know that our system has Kadri in front of the net. So to say that it's
then why is he always
fault,
on the half boards?
That is the question that I'm asking. Because you're saying you're not blaming him for it. I'm saying he's
I
out
think
of position.
that's where they want him. I think that's what they're
there's,
being told.
There's no way we want everybody along the boards. There's no way that Kurt Moeller or Daryl Sutter is saying the keys to success to our power play is everybody play on the fucking boards. Not a chance.
I don't think so either. But I don't think that Kadri's the one they're telling to go there, even though he should.
Kadri has always been known to do his thing. Whatever Kadri wants to do, he does it. A lot of times he's very successful at it, but he's also taken a lot of heat from a lot of NHL coaches for not listening. And I truly believe a lot of the struggles we've had on the first power play this year is because we have certain players that are not playing in their position.
Because as a center, that's where you should be.
Right. There is zero reason for him to be touching whiteboards at all. At all.
I mean, maybe behind the net a little bit, but that's only when the puck misses the net and goes there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is no reason for him to be skating anywhere else. He should be doing figure eights within 3 feet of the net. That's it.
Yeah. See, I agree with you that that's how it should be, but I still don't think that Kadri's the one they want there. I think they want Lindholm there. And I think that Lindholm knows that's not what he should do. And I think Lindholm's on, I'm not.
As soon as the play as soon as we start to get possession, Kadri starts going towards the net and Lindholm is the guy on the side. So that to me tells me that Kadri is out of position to begin with.
See, right? I see it. I see way too often Kadri basically where
doing fucking laps. He starts doing laps around the offensive zone. Sometimes with the puck,
he's on the half board most of the time. Like that, that's what I see.
If you watch him, if he has the puck, he does these fucking laps, and he loses the puck, right? But if you watch him when he doesn't have the puck, he's still doing these. I was like, "What are you doing? Find a spot, go there."
My biggest thing with him is that he doesn't try to skate around guys. He tries to skate through guys.
Right, and then complains about, there was some physical contact there.
He's like, somebody's interfered with me. It's like, no, you skated into him.
Yeah, like you caused that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in fact, you should get the penalty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I agree with that. Yeah. But anyways, I just wish he'd go to the front of that. Whether, we could argue all day on whether it's what they want him to do or whether it's not what they want him to do. I just wish he fucking would do it.
Absolutely.
Because I'm not going to sit here and lie and say every time he gets to the front of the net on the power play, it causes a goal. But I want to say that there's been, when I notice him in front of the net, it either causes havoc or it causes a goal. Or
that's
both.
Right. That's
and
right.
that's what you need.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. He is the best person on the power play to create havoc in front of the net.
Yes.
That's what he should be doing.
Absolutely. Screen the goalie.
That's right. Screen the goalie, get ready for a
guys.
rebound.
Yeah. And then how about that goal from Huberdeau?
You know what? We all say shoot the puck, shoot the puck, shoot the puck. Right? When it comes to Huberdeau. You got to shoot the puck. You got a great shot. And he's got great vision for the net. Like I want to watch him in a skills competition taking out the targets. He's got a deadly shot. Like he knows where the puck is going. And to watch his interview or listen to his interview after where he says that
I was thinking about passing that one.
In the heat of the moment, I was thinking about passing it, and then he makes a joke. He says, "I know I should probably get to a psychiatrist."
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, you should. Like you got to get that shit out of your head. Shoot the puck more. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's an elite playmaker and one of the best in the NHL to do so. But he's got a hell of a shot.
Yeah,
and he needs to use it more.
I am not because him and Gaudreau are different players.
Yeah.
They're both great playmakers. But that is what Gaudreau was like for way too long. You and I and every other Flames fan spent, 8 years, 11 years fucking yelling at our TV, shoot the fucking elite shot when he uses it.
Speaking of players doing laps,
years. Mm-hmm.
Right?
But it took him years to learn that if he used it, he'd get 40 goals and 115 points.
Right. Yeah, who would have thought that Daryl Sutter would have brought out the offense of Johnny Gaudreau?
Yeah. And let's hope that
if I had $1,000 to bet on that, I would not have won any money because I would not have bet on it ever.
Nobody would have. Nobody said that except for Guy Gaudreau.
True.
But no, I honestly think that that was a really good goal. I've heard a lot of people saying that's going to be the start of the Huberdeau that we're looking for, and I honestly think that happened over a month ago.
I do too. Yep.
But
no, I
do think that he needed that.
Yeah.
And I think Weegar needs one too.
Weegar definitely needs to get some points on the board for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously it'd be nice for the Flames for him to get those points, but for his confidence, he needs something.
I don't expect him. I'm not out here being like, oh, Weegar's a point guy. We need Weegar to get points. We don't.
No.
Weegar needs Weegar to get a point or two.
Exactly.
For his confidence. But I don't think.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think for a second that he's been bad.
No.
Like he's been really good defensively.
Yeah.
And he's been really good at, exiting the zone. And
everybody does.
Sure. Yeah. But he's been really good at exiting the zone. He's been really good at, I mean, his stick plays, like they're really fun to watch. It's like you and I both being old fans of TJ Brody can appreciate a good poke check.
Absolutely. And I think that especially with him playing with Tanev and being a guy who plays both sides, I think that one of the reasons why they liked him in this trade so much is that Tanev's only got so long left. And I feel like we don't have anybody in our system who's anywhere near that level of that player of defensive play. Yeah. And I think that Weegar is a really natural replacement.
Yeah, he could be, right? I mean, he's I mean, obviously I'm not going to say that he's Tanev.
No, he's not. But I think that he's the closest thing we got.
He's the closest thing to like a complete defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I agree with you there for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was a big win. Hopped us up a couple spots in the standings where we now, even though every other team below us has games in hand, we're 1 point up on half of the division for the third playoff spot.
One thing I do want to bring up so out of all the games we've been talking about tonight, whether it be San Jose, LA, Anaheim, Edmonton, and Seattle, one thing that really stood out to me is every single game we were in the positive when it came to faceoffs. So for those 5 games, we're at 55%.
Yeah.
Like it's really great to have center depth.
And it's great to start with the puck, obviously.
That's the one thing, if you remember watching the Flames like from like 06, 07 till like 15, 16, 17, 18 maybe.
Yeah.
That was the biggest complaint, right? Center depth, right? They've got Monahan, obviously he's not around anymore, but they've really focused on creating that center depth. And it's starting to pay off. Right.
I remember at one point during that Edmonton game, when they were about to take a face off, they had those stat overlays where they did one with I believe it was Lindholm and McDavid were taking the face off, and Lindholm was 6 for 7 and McDavid was 0 for 6.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah. And again, like I'm sure McDavid won some later in the game or whatever, but
Sure.
at one point, and obviously they don't take all their face-offs against each other, but yeah, McDavid hadn't won a face-off in 6 face-offs.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That's yeah, I like that.
Me too.
For obvious reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
but
that was you know what? That's the best place to leave it.
Agreed. Everybody make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube if you're watching us there. If you're not, if you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple, make sure to leave us a rating, give us a review, and subscribe.
Definitely subscribe, download, share
All
with
that
your
thing.
friends.
Share with your friends.
Anybody that you think would like some armchair-ish content about a couple of passionate Flames fans that like talking about the team.
And check out the Hockey Podcast Network if you like any other teams you want to know. Most of the teams have a show on the Hockey Podcast Network. Make sure to check them all out. There's some pretty good ones. There's also some fantasy hockey related ones, so check it out.
Yep. And this will likely be our last show of 2022. So want to wish everybody a happy new year.
Cheers.
On Saturday night. Hopefully the Flames can pull out a win for that celebration. Cheers,
Big
everybody.
game against the Canucks. Cheers.
Go Flames, go.